Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to episode 60 of the Alec Walt Show. I'm your host, Alec Walt, alongside another very special guest, and today we're talking Bonnies basketball. This weekend, the Bonnies start the A10 tournament. If they win it all, they could go to the NCAA tournament. Joining me to preview the Bonnies and more is Gary Nease, the radio voice of the St. Bonaventure men's basketball team. Gary, welcome back to the Alec Walt Show.
It's nice to be back, and in Washington. Nice to be back in Washington. We missed our shot earlier this year. They wouldn't let us come down.
Yeah, so hopefully in this trip to Washington is very successful. Again, the Bonnies are the 4th seed in the Atlantic 10 tournament. Get that bye, play Friday with still an opponent that we don't exactly know yet. But Gary, the reason they were able to secure a top 4 seed is because they defeat Richmond at the end of the season 72-65. And one of the major reasons the Bonnies won that game is because it was the return of Oshun Oshuni. Looked like a scary injury a couple games ago. VCU was, of course, a very tough loss, but Oshun was back, and it looked like a complete different Bonnies team.
Yeah, and VCU took advantage of the fact that there was no rim protector, and that's why we had such a poor game there. And on top of that, there's a couple of guys that got some food poisoning, so they were not at 100%. So we were kind of shorthanded at VCU. But yeah, you're right. When Oshun went down in the St. Joseph's game, the previous game, it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I never saw him go down. It was one of those situations where I got blocked out. All I saw was him laying on the ground. We were going into commercial as it happened. But when he couldn't put any weight on the ankle when they took him off, and I could see them working on the ankle, and I could see how much pain he was in, and immediately thought, well, there goes the season. We figured that he was probably done for a while. But the training staff did a great job. They were going 24/7 on the ice in the heat, and making sure that he was going to be ready to play. They were looking first to make sure he was ready for this tournament. They said, well, we'll just take our chances and see what happens. We can't finish any worse than 5th. So, they did not play him on Tuesday against VCU. He still, despite having a few days of further rehab, still was a game time decision. When I talked to Coach Schmidt before the ball game that Friday, he said he was shaking his head. He said, we still don't know yet. And when I got to the arena, he was already working out with associate head coach Steve Curran. He was already out on the floor working those jump hooks, and they were making him move a little bit. And the trainer was right there watching him, and they made the decision that he was good enough to go. And he toughed it out. He was maybe 60% of his ability as far as jumping and running. And that 60% was good enough for 16 points, 6 rebounds, and of course 3 block shots, where he set the school record. So an Oshuni at 60% is pretty darn good.
Yeah, and he played nearly the entire game. And when you obviously look forward to the Atlantic 10 tournament, Mark Schmidt, he's going to have his starters play a majority of the game if they can. So even it was a very nice performance, but it was also nice to see him play all of those minutes in that match.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with Osunniyi. He won an award this week as the Atlantic 10 Defensive Player of the Year, something he's won previously. But Gary, when handing out awards, that was a guarantee. There was no surprise at all that Oshun took home that award.
No, and one of the main thing that coaches look at when they vote on these things, because this is the coaches voting. This is not the press when the final all conference teams go. The coaches look at who is the guy that we have to work around, who's the guy that we have to watch for, who's their guy, who's their known. And a lot of coaches say that the first thing they look at is Oshuni in the lineup. And then that's how they work their offense. They know if he's going to be in the game, and he's going to be in the game 35 minutes, those 35 minutes, you might want to do something around the perimeter. When he's out of the lineup, and when Bonaventure subs in Abdul Kareem Koulibaly, then you'll see teams trying to get downhill and getting into the basket. Or the other plan is, we saw this a couple of times, and I think St. Louis was one of them. They literally ran at Oshun trying to get him fouled out of the game. And of course, Oshun had 2 very good games against St. Louis. I think the one game at home didn't. I think he only picked up 2 fouls, so you knew that they weren't getting much inside. So so that's one of the reasons. One of the things they look at the stats. They see 3 blocks a game. They see the rebounding,
Mhm.
and the whole total team defense. Because the guys out front will take chances, knowing that Oshun's back there to clean up any mistakes they make. But the one thing they look at it, they look to the video and they go, how do we work around this guy? And when they looked at Bonaventure, they said he's the guy that we have to worry about. And a lot of coaches, that's why they voted for him as Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, Gary, looking at the other half of the court, the Bonnies' leading scorer was able to get another award as being first team all conference. Jalen Attaway has been nasty in Atlantic 10 play, has 12 or more points in every single game, 6 games, over 20 points. I mean, Gary, when this guy leads the offense, it looks like the Bonnies are nearly unstoppable.
Well, and the thing is, everybody talks about the other seniors. They talk about Don Welsh and the 3-point shooting, and of course Kyle Lofton, the all around play that he's done this year, and Jaron Holmes tough on defense and his aggressive play on offense, and then all of a sudden you look down at the score sheet and there's Jalen Attaway sitting there with 17 points, 7 rebounds, couple of blocks. He's
Yeah.
he's kind of a stat stuffer, but he does it so quietly until you need a play late in the game, and he has done the spectacular late in the game. A three to beat Buffalo, that dunk against St. Joe's a couple of games ago, the acrobatic catch and layup he made in the Richmond game on Friday night. There is so much talent in this kid, and again. I can't call him kid. He's 23 now, but
Yeah.
but I, compared to me, he's a youngster. But there's just so much talent coming out of him, and I think another reason he's on the first team is because he's had such good level of play on both ends of the floor. In a very consistent manner. You might have an off game once in a while, but he still will make a play for you late in the game or at a key point in the game to keep you the lead or give you the lead. Just a solid player.
So, Gary, let's look at the starting backcourt real quick. Kyle Lofton, Dom Welch. How are those two looking here as we head towards the tournament?
Well, Kyle, of course, he had that ankle injury, and it cost him 3 games. He didn't play a couple of games where he just, of course, he came back at the Virginia Tech game, and that was just an awful game to come back in. It didn't look good. He didn't look ready in that game, and then we got the break because of COVID, and I think that saved his season. Those 3 weeks that Bonaventure didn't play really saved the season for Kyle Lofton because he had a chance to rehab that ankle, get back in shape, and it took him a couple of games, but probably I would say right around that VCU game, he started showing that his ankle was okay.
Hmm.
And that's when his game picked up. Now the shooting has been a little touchy at times, but he hasn't needed that because of the other 4 players on the floor. You got 5 guys averaging double figures. The couple of games that Kyle would shoot, 8, 10 points, but he'd have a ton of rebounds. But really, what impressed me about Kyle this year was his defense. He has really worked hard on the defensive end of the floor. He has picked up his steals, but he does the work that you do off the court as well. He's in the video room looking at opponents, looking at their tendencies. You can see it. There were 2 or 3 plays that stood out, and again, one of them was at the UMass game. Where he had the 17 assists on offense. Everybody's watching that. I'm watching the 4 steals he had because not one of them did he take the ball away from the guy he was guarding. He took it away from the offense. There was one they were trying to pass the ball into the corner. He saw it from the opposite side of the court and ran to that spot and just intercepted the pass. He looked like a free safety in football. And that, I mean, but he knows what the team's running. He knows what plays that they're running most of the time, and he's been a great on ball defender. But now he's seeing the whole court, and that the Bonnies have done a great job over the last 3, 4 games of getting their hands active and deflecting passes and just doing what you have to do on defense. And the defense is back a little bit. And of course, we mentioned Oshun back there. They can take some chances out front. And Dom Welsh and Kyle Lofton do that. They're both long, they're rangy, they're aggressive, and if they can keep that style of play up and stay out of foul trouble, the Bonnies have a good shot.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need to play like that in potentially the first game. And yes, I know our opponent is still to be determined, but there's a chance that our first matchup is against St. Louis, one of the more physical teams in the Atlantic 10. Now, Gary, we played St. Louis twice. Bonnies have looked like the better team in both of those matchups, but we look at the final score, and both games were decided by 7 or less points. Gary, just give me your take on the Bonnies facing St. Louis and that potential matchup in the first round.
Well, you know that St. Louis is a physical team. They're out front. They're grabbing. They're clutching. They're pushing. They're running you off screens. And then on defense, their defense is predicated on that, but their offense is also very aggressive. They'll get the ball down low to a Coro or to Linson, and they try to really work you hard down low. Fred Thatch Jr. is basically a middle linebacker playing basketball. I mean, he's 6'3", about 220. But he has come on. He's played very well for them. I think we caught St. Louis at a great time because Jimerson, their guard, had a horrible shooting night 2 nights in a row. This guy, and I mentioned it during the first game, he missed 2 free throws. He was fouled and he missed both free throws. And I mentioned during the game it was probably the first time since grade school he had done that. He's a 90% free throw shooter, but against us he misses 2. So we caught a few breaks, but we also made some breaks, and that was the difference. But it's gonna if it comes to Bonaventure against St. Louis on Friday, it's gonna be an extremely physical game. You get concerned about how the officials are going to call it. Are they going to call everything? Are they going to call nothing? You'd hope that that they some way that they let the players decide it. But it's just, I think it's going to be a very physical game. St. Louis is not happy that they lost 2 in a row to Bonaventure. So you know that there's some added incentive on their part. The Bonnies want to go back and represent the A-10 in the NCAA tournament. So I think that could be a very, very good game. But St. Louis is going to have to get through St. Joe's or LaSalle, and you've got LaSalle all of a sudden playing like they belong in the top half of the conference. So, so we'll see what happens with LaSalle St. Joe's. They're going to tip things off, start the tournament, at 1:00 this afternoon. But it's going to be just a fun couple of days here before we even take the floor.
Now, when you look back at St. Louis, the matchup during the regular season, Bonnie's ended the season winning, I believe, 8 of their last 9 games, the only loss being the road game to VCU. You look at the win streak when it started. We beat Fordham, which was expected. We killed Fordham, 25.
Yeah.
And then we had the back-to-back wins against St. Louis. Like I mentioned, both of them were decided by 7 or less games. The one at St. Bonaventure was a 4-point win for the Bonnies.
Right.
Gary, were those 2 wins a huge turning point for the Bonnies here during the season?
I think it was. I actually think that the first game out in St. Louis was the turning point.
Okay.
That's when they took on one of the powers. It was St. Louis was undefeated at the Chaffetz Center going in. We gave them their first loss at home. Went on their floor and beat them. And knowing that they had a couple of nights, I thought that St. Louis would come out and just try to run us off the floor. But the Bonnies were the aggressors in that game, and I think it was that they just got a bunch of confidence off that win in St. Louis, turned right around and just kept going. Knowing that St. Louis was going to come at them hard at Riley Center, didn't matter. They just shook them off, and they had a huge lead. Let a few things get away late, but still had enough to win that game. And then that just continued on.
So when you look at the Atlantic 10, this tournament coming up, Bonnies look like they potentially could play a Davidson. They could play a Dayton or a VCU. There's some very quality teams here in this conference. Gary, in your opinion, based on watching every team this year in the Atlantic 10, how much depth is there of teams you think could realistically take home the Atlantic 10 title?
I think you can go all the way down to Richmond as the 6th seed.
Really?
I really do. I mean, Richmond beat us pretty good. Back in January, we came back in February and March and beat them. But I mean, there's a team that's been together for 5 years, basically. I mean, the 4 of the starters are grads. They're grad students. They all decided to come back to use that extra year of eligibility that the NCAA gave them because of COVID. They have not had the season that they wanted. They were picked to be second in the preseason. We were first, and here we are, 4th and 6th, respectively. So I honestly think with the veteran players that they have And if Tyler Burton goes off like he did against us down in Richmond, you've got a very dangerous team because Burton can, we saw him throw in 36, and he didn't have a particularly good night Friday night, but he still had 21 to finish the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's going to be their key. Gilliard, he's been struggling a little bit, but Kyle Lofton did a job on him that was unbelievable. He could not get free from the Bonaventure defense. So he managed 6 points and didn't turn the ball over. But the big thing about that game, we didn't turn the ball over either. He only ended up, I think, with one steal for the whole game, and he's averaging like 4 or 5 a game. So, but I think Richmond, if they bring their A game, look out because they can surprise a few people. I mean, that's as far down. St. Louis, we know we've seen St. Louis twice. They're a tough team. They can beat anybody. And then you look at Dayton, a bunch of young kids, but boy, how talented are they? And they are going on talent right now. You just kept waiting for Dayton to hit that wall, that freshman wall they talk about, but I think they just slammed right through it. So Dayton's a good team. They've got possibility for NCAA. Davidson, obviously, going to be good in VCU. Started slow, but they're coming on strong with Keyshawn Curry. Has really stepped up his game and given them a third option on offense, and that's really what is keying VCU offensively. And of course, you know how well they are defensively. So, as I said, 1 through 6, throw them in a hat and pull out a name because any one of those teams could win it.
So, Gary, with all this depth in the Atlantic 10, what do the Bonnies need to do to take home the title?
Well, the Bonnies, statistically, when the NCAA committee is looking at them, the net's not good. There's some bad losses. I think the Bonnies probably are going to have to win it to get to the NCAA. I don't know if they could survive a loss in the championship game. I honestly think that they're going to have to go 3 for 3 out down here in Washington to get to the NCAA. They may have a shot NIT if they can pick up a couple of wins. But in order to get to the NCAA, I think they're going to have to win it.
All right. Well, Gary, thank you very much for joining me on the Alec Walt Show, and have a heck of a weekend there in D.C. I'll see you. I'll be down there.
Well, that's good. It'll be good to catch up again.
Yeah, awesome. Well, again, thank you again. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of the Alec Walt Show. I'm Alec Walt alongside Gary and Nease. What do you think of the Bonnies heading into the Atlantic 10? Do you think they could win the Atlantic 10 tournament? Feel free to give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more of my exclusive content. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you very soon.